And we are back. Magic Frosty was amazing, wasn't he? Awesome, as we promised. Thank you so much, everyone who tuned in. So we are now into a section that's a little bit more dear to myself. This is the Spoken Not Stirred hour. It's a poetry hour. And Spoken Not Stirred essentially is something that myself and another local poet, John Akinde, started about 2-3 years ago. And it was because we just saw something that was needed in the area and we thought we'd provide it. And the response and the engagement that people from the community have given us has been amazing. It's been heartwarming. And really for us to be able to be here, again, we've been in, we've done Barking Folk Festival, we've been in schools, we've done all of these other things, but also just to still be involved in things like this really humbles us because it shows us how much the community engages what we do. So one of the amazing things about this, though, is the people it brings together. And this is why I'm really happy to be here right now, is because we get to share some of the things that, I get to showcase some amazing people from the area, some amazing spoken word artists and poets, but also they get to share some of their views and some of their words. So yeah, this is what's going to happen for the next hour. We've got amazing local poets, mostly the Spoken Not Stirred collective, but also there was a poetry competition that happened earlier this year that was run by Pen to Print, and we're going to have some of the entrants, the winner and the runner-ups of that, their poems will be played later as well. So without further ado, I set myself up there. So without any more delay, we're going to get into our first poet, who is an amazing person who has been engaged with Spoken Not Stirred from the beginning. His poetry is always from the heart. It's always very pure, and it's, it does something to me. It really makes me happy to be able to share this gentleman's words. So without me rambling anymore, Gertrude Cowan.
Hello. This is the first poem's about the snootiness we had to put up in what we really got. It's called A Bad Borough. I live in a bad borough. A bad borough I have grown to adore. It is a multicultural borough, mixed race to the core. I hear all the snooty remarks spoken with their noses upturned, like a name provokes a rotten smell akin to old rubbish that's ready to be burned. Yeah, I live in a bad borough where hello is said in many tongues. A borough of many faiths, a borough of different tongues. Yet we put up with the dissing of Dagenham and the bitching of Barking from those who've never been here and presume every ignorant thing. They think we all drag our knuckles and are easily confused by a 3-syllable word. But if they dare to turn off the A13, they'll see it's all absurd. You will find this bad borough to be full of art and craft, and not because of gentrification, mainly it's from us working class. It's not packed full of Nazis, although like everywhere there's one or two, but there are lots of different cultures standing 2 by 2. We are a borough of languages like Swahili, Polish, Patois and Cockney rhyming slang. A place where every language is proudly and loudly sang. Yes, we are a borough of immigrants with exotic wares and trait. I myself am a bad borough immigrant because I was born in Forest Gate. This borough may be one of the poorest, yet it is rich in so many ways, from community spirit, parks, theatre, history, and its festival days. So before you do your bitching and dissing of this place I call home, think to yourself, what's your borough like? It's probably not much different where you're from. I live in a bad borough. Bad is Barking. A fact I will not hide. Because if there's one thing this borough has given me, it is civic pride. This one I wrote purely obviously through the coronavirus, but this is just to waken up what we've got around us and what we don't appreciate enough. It's called Did You Notice? We love all those who protect, rescue, investigate and defend. And those who cure, prescribe, diagnose and surgically mend. Those who teach the young and the youth to help prepare for their future, so they can grow up to be a scientist, an artist, solicitor or doctor. But did you ever notice the person who delivers your daily post while you were happily munching away on your morning jam on toast? Or the ones who swept the detritus from your dusty littered street, keeping your road and pavement looking all nice and neat? Those who prune, plant, weed and maintain your local green, who may mow the grass, trim the hedges, proudly keeping it pleasant and serene. How about those who empty the bins, unlock the drains and maintain the lights? The ones who feed your kids at school, keep the classrooms clean, open and close the gates. The carer who visits your old neighbour and helps him around their home. The volunteer, the stranger, the random voice being a friend on the other end of the phone. Do you say hello to the guard at the train station, the taxi driver or the driver on the bus, who put up with the miserable and irritated attitude and their passengers without a fuss? Do you know the name of the delivery drivers who drive in the lorry, van and car, keeping the shelves filled and deliver your goods so you need not travel far? The farmer who grows your fresh food from sowing the seed to harvesting the reap, selling their final produce for pennies to help keep your daily groceries cheap. Do you think of the foreigner who harvests your pears, strawberries, peas and beans, as well as other fresh healthy stuff like raspberries, asparagus and greens? Do you remember the face who fixed your car, saving you from getting your hands greasy? Or the one who serviced your central heating, 'cause you can feel snug, warm and cosy? Or of course, the ones who mop the brow, mop the sick when you are ill, change your all-soiled bedding with a smile and make sure you take your pill. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Gertrude. Everyone at home, that was Gertrude Carlson. Yeah, amazing. And always, remembering us, for us not to forget everyone in our lives that help us in all those little ways. And this is why I love it. It's why I love it. Thank you so much, Gertrude. So our next poet is, I personally call him Mr. Barking, because if you've been in Barking and Dagenham, you could not go around and not see this guy. And I'm telling you, I even heard someone saw him on Christmas Day. He's like Father Christmas, just there, just wandering around. But he's someone who always gets involved in community activities, and this is exactly what we do this for. So I'm very, very humbled to present our next poet, Mr. Danny Baxter.
Hello, everybody. One Borough, One Love Festival. Thanks for having me. Hello to Katia, Lexi, Phoenix A, and Zachary. Okay, I've got 5 minutes and 2 poems, so I want to get into this. First one is my entry into the Summer Festivals and Pen to Print's Hopes and Dreams competition, and I didn't win it. Hopes and dreams. Now you know something is wrong. It's like we've been given things that aren't. Security that compromises privacy. Equality that encourages discrimination. Liberty that progresses prohibition. They tell you to dream big, but in which direction? They tell you to aim high, but to what level? So I guess, if I am to dream for the future, dream for myself, dream for my family, dream for my community, dream for my world, I guess I would dream for not that. Everyone is looking for a revolution. The battle for political supremacy has never been more fierce. You can have any diversity you want except for diversity of ideals, because they have decided it doesn't work for them. Apparently, we need to unite and come together to speak as one with the same mode of expression and understanding. But who sets the tone and the context? Someone of privilege, whoever that may be? We all want to say jump and not how high, but we all jump nevertheless. I guess I would dream for not that. When we are neutered before we can be multicultural, so we don't fall into those categories, the ones we left behind. And let us all shout down the one that looks back, lest they turn into a proverbial pillar of salt, whatever that looks like. We are all unique, but we parrot the same slogans, dance to the beat of the same drum track, and woe betide the one who chooses to be silent, giving consent to the contrary point of view, the forbidden view. I guess I would dream for not that. All the things that were promised us as part of the vision of future utopia we were strung along with, appearing as elements we would welcome as desirable and beneficial, but harboring within their own antithesis, their own poison. They used our naive hopes to empower the conquest of us under the guise of our liberation, leaving us only with the regret of the very first day we ever dared to dream for it. I guess I would dream for not that. So, I would hope and dream, even pray for change. A change that we believed was within our grasp, but were talked out of thinking we could achieve. A change that we don't have to trade our dignity or integrity to grasp. A change that makes us stronger and not weaker. A change that will instruct us on how to respect each other without causing us to control each other. A change that will make us proud of what we have become, not just what we have created. A change, I suppose, that must reside within me, not just outside of me, if it is to even be. I guess I would dream for that. Okay, next poem. It's dedicated to Creative Barking and Dagenham and Imagineers' collaboration on the up-and-coming bridge project. What type of bridge? We will start with what we know. We know that 1 + 1 = 2, unless your 1 is negative, in which case the answer will be 0. So your addition must be positive if you want the sum total to be more than what you started with. We know that there is strength in numbers, unless those of that number conflict with one another, which would lead to the sum of the parts being greater than the whole, and the strength of the individual becoming weaker. We know that unity is preferable to separation, unless the thing that you're unifying with is corrosive, in which case unity can facilitate the rapid decay of that which was protected by boundary, and tolerance can bring about the erosion of the integrity of strong structures. And so it is with building bridges. The creation of a connection between two areas separated by border, the unification of spaces previously isolated from each other. This can only be viewed as a positive endeavour if the purpose for the bridge being used is for the benefit of those on both sides of the bridge. So, what type of bridge are we trying to build? Bridges of peace and solidarity, or bridges of appropriation and conquest? Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. I think Danny just gave us a formula of how to create connections. And as you can tell as well, this is one of the reasons I think Danny's a great human being. I think a lot of people are. But as both of the poems were community engaged, like he said, the hopes and dreams competition, which I may have judged in, Danny, so don't hate me. It was blind judging though. It was blind judging. I don't know who wrote anything because we don't work with favourites here.
So Danny won, so it's fine.
Sorry?
Danny won.
Danny did win, and we are going to be playing that poem actually later, along with another poem, which is the poem that we worked on in lockdown. So just before we get to the next poem, which is a recorded poem, and then after that poem will be another recorded poem, which is what I'm going to talk about now. So Spoken Up said, like I said, we've been actually in the borough for about 3 years. And in that 3 years, one thing that we've made central to all of it is to make sure the community is involved and the community is a highlight of this. So obviously when, March came around and, lockdown was introduced and we couldn't run our shows and we couldn't see the community the same way, we decided to do something where we can still engage and we can still half check up on people and be like, hey, wonderful poets, wonderful people, how are you doing at this time? But also so we can produce something and still be given the art and still be given that passageway of, expressing, and also for us to show how amazing Barking and Dagenham is and the talent in it. So that video is going to be coming up soon. It's going to be coming up after the next poem, which is going to be a poem by Joshua Rodwell. But before that, I also want to get to know some of the poets that we've got up here. We're going to just quickly have a quick chat with Gertrude. So Gertrude, initially, what I just want to know, hi, how you doing? One, thank you for reading. Thank you for being here. One thing I just wanted to know really is, what is your drive for writing poetry? What inspires you to do?
A lot of time it's just to empty my head out.
Mike.
Sorry about that. A lot of time it's just to empty my head out. A lot of times because the thoughts just go around. A lot of people know me, understand. Will hear me going about rocks in a spin dryer because that's the noise that goes in my head. But they're not just empty thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, it's what's going on around me. It's what's going on in the world. It's what I read in history.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's good stuff to read in history, whether it's bad stuff to read in history, it all needs to come out.
History
And
goes.
it just comes out in the rhythm and the rhyme a lot of times.
Yeah, so it's a kind of like a way of processing all of those things.
Yeah.
So it's not just a
Absolutely.
tumbleweed going on.
Yeah.
It's just a way of the format.
I've had 40 years of tumbleweed, so I'm that old.
No, that's
and,
not.
and older.
Well, that's great, and I think that's a big thing for a lot of people is the expression, is the way of getting things out. And what would you say are your main messages though? Like, if all the things you express and all the things you want people to know, what is the main aim there? What's the main goal?
Just, you know, believe what you see, believe what you hear. Don't believe what you're told all the time.
Yeah.
You know, study. Always question everything, even if it suits your sensibilities. Question everything.
Yeah.
You know, especially when it comes to history.
Yeah, definitely.
So
One of my
history
favourite
gets
sayings.
written, so, especially when that generation who remembers that history has passed away, because that's when history gets rewritten, as
Yeah.
it is starting now. Well, we won't go into too far into that.
It can get political.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Just, you know, use your senses.
Yeah, I love that. That whole believe what you see, what you hear, but not what you're told.
Yeah.
So it's
But even then,
dig
still
deeper
question.
as well. Yeah,
Even
exactly. But
question
still
again.
dig deeper.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Gertrude. Right, Danny. Just so we've have a little chat. Don't want to keep you lonely over there. You looked like you was edging for a conversation. You was just like, yes, talk to me. So we will. So Danny, you're involved in a lot of community stuff in Barking and Dagenham. I would say, most of the things that happen with Studio Free Arts, with the council, even Pen to Print, you are engaged. And I just want to know, one, what is your drive for that? What drives you to get involved in the community stuff? But two, what have you found that it the benefits essentially? Because obviously there's got to be benefits for you to keep doing it. So what is it that you feel like you've gained from that?
Well, it's an interesting question, and the short version of the answer of that is...
You call me Andy there.
No, basically, everyone's always talking about multiculturalism, right? And I'm pretty much looking at my life and I suppose the small circle of people that are around me, and we pretty much created our own culture, so we've got to represent.
Sick.
Pretty much.
Sick.
Yeah, so anytime anyone gives us an opportunity to jump in, we're there, whatever I'm made out of, my demographics and what you can split me into, I can represent and give a voice to where other people in the same demographic as me may not say the same thing as me. So then the next person that comes along and says, oh, what are those people like? Well, they're kind of like that or like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we give them choices,
That's definitely something I noticed with Danny is, there's been some things where we don't exactly agree on, but I think having that different view and different voice is always it's always needed, and it's why we do it. And I love what you said about we created our own community, our own culture, because that's what Spoken Arts does. Like, it's such a mix. And the next poem that we're going to have is going to be a little bit more on the culture. It's going to be on something that's been happening lately. Like I said, it's a poem by Joshua Rodwell. And then after that, we're going to have a community poem, which is featuring some more Spoken Not Stirred artists. Thank you again, Danny. Thank you again, Gertrude.
Thanks.
Do enjoy Joshua's poem.
Black. It's not a word that means they will attack. What he lacks was compassion, unfashioned under the illusion of white dreams of confusion in the brains of the innocent adolescents. They need to learn a lesson. I've been taking my time to assess a situation that's been in the heart of the US nation. Finally, the concerns of the population can be heard and recognised in the Constitution. How can you make a difference when you're just one voice? I don't know, but I know I need to make a choice between right and wrong. Make sure something's done. No more black mothers crying over lost sons. Taken by protectors, infected with neglectors, and no objectors or racism detectors within the walls of the erectors. So much for the educators. How can you preach that your fellow man is somehow worth less than the white boy I am? I don't understand, and frankly, I don't give a damn. I'm standing up for the people who live their life with no rights, no sight, no might, and hopefully one day they will try to overrun the corruption of the world stage. You can't trust the leaders of the free world. It says a lot about how this ain't a free world, and I'm not saying that you should follow me world, but I know somehow I can change the world. Let me tell you some truths. Nobody cares for the youths. We're seen as inferior, although we will inherit an earth from the demons that polluted her. We need to end the 200-year war on the environment because you led us into a battle we can't win, and it's a sin to try and stop the very thing that created the drop of the human race as a whole. We're in this together and there's one goal. To come together to end the tyranny on the TED Republic that's so metathesiophobic. Don't get me started on the homophobic. To believe that a man cannot love another man is tragic. The ideology of hatred is so archaic. Someone needs to say it. You're up in the clouds and you've got to come down. I'm so tired of getting fired up to the sound of another disgrace by the human race. I want a world where everyone has their place, not a world that condones children sprayed by mace. This is the case and I'm in a daze, my head's amazed, my thoughts ablaze. I'm no messiah and I'm not the nicest guy. I get down sometimes. I'm not trying to be the man who glues the nation back together, but I have a plan. We need to educate, learn to debate. We can end the hate, and I'm not saying that we have to be mates. Just learn from another, and let's see what we can create. Racism needs to dissipate. We're not too late. This doesn't have to be our children's fate. We the people can summon a gate to heaven on earth where there is no hate. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And I have a dream that one day black and white daughters and sons can live in a world where we all just get along. Those who wish to follow me are welcome with my hands. I use my heroes' words because they would be my fans, and they would understand the battle that we face to end the coldest days. That's all I have to say.
How easily we become encapsulated, trapped in our own pods of safety. In solitude, you start to think, is it just me? So I decided to roam, find myself in my community, see how we all felt when this all started.
When this all started, I felt unsure and ill at ease.
I was horrified by empty shelves. People were panic buying bog rock and only thinking about themselves.
Susceptible, infected, recovered, dead. That is what the doctors said.
Above all else, I was confused, questioning how did this happen? Where did it come from? What are we going to do?
Treat everyone as if they have it. Wash hands. Wash hands.
Keep your distance. Wash your hands. The supplies to all the lands.
I was busy being busy, clocking in more hours outdoors than in, sympathising with other nations as they tallied up their dead like it was a competition.
Wash. Wash.
I knew things were not equal, it's true, and you knew too. You knew all along that something was wrong.
From the front line, she told us what to do, how to stay safe.
My party was facing the captains of chaos, each firing projectiles at us from all angles, converging for simultaneous lethal collision.
Would it grow to a pandemic or see it through? Would it be a breeze?
Assuming that the UK will be exempt from joining in this deadly race.
Then lockdown came.
Test, track, trace, isolate.
Not soon enough, in my opinion. Streets in the city deserted. Looked like some disaster movie. Just me and empty buses about.
Just about on an even keel. But we are rudderless now on stormy seas.
We were told to take our stance and brace for impact.
And so we did. Weary at the door, washing shopping, washing post, hands, everything.
Suddenly, the projectiles slowed to a virtual halt. It would seem that at the 11th hour, Providence had staged an intervention.
Environment is sick and all you can. Climate change, acid rain, forests cut and cut again.
Our pride in our nurse, spiked by fear. We didn't want her to be a hero.
In a stroke, paralysis. Situation needs analysis. Will we need a badge still to be at large in the aftermath?
Fear and hope, the ills and the cures, and we all need more medicine. It took a virus for us to see just how sick this world really is, but we are stronger than this broken system we live in.
Now I feel hope.
Like the tide of battle was turned, as we look upon the army of assailants now motionless, immobile.
Politics, you can be sure, will endure.
The corporate mask has slipped, herding us onto packed trains in such a hurry.
Now I feel that it's more than just the buildings we're meeting and the things that we do, but it is the people. And the most important of those are right under my roof.
I hope people are learning what it means to have solidarity. My soul has been emboldened watching strangers practice charity.
Hope for the family. We're still safe with a new baby born at the peak. Our first grandchild. Oblivious to fear, she blooms chubby and bonny. But
now I feel I underestimated how this awful virus would now spread, and every time I came across someone, I was filled with utter dread.
Now I feel and hope that we find the answers to all of this, that we find a treatment and a vaccine, that we can investigate the response of our own government.
The heat of the fiery darts that were launched, hovering before our very faces, slowing to a snail's pace like bullet time. The dark resonance of this present age is all-encompassing, freezing everyone and everything in its path.
disgust for the leaders who gambled with all our lives, self-serving, uncaring, incompetent.
Defying its gravity, we move to dispatch each challenger one by one, whilst opportunity affords us the advantage.
Can't keep their mouths wide shut in the new normal. Out of work, with any luck, things will get better.
And I truly believe sunnier days are yet to come. That's not to say we've seen the worst of this storm, but look how far we've come alone when we've been apart. Imagine what we can do once we're together when this is all over.
When this is over and the dust settles in this end game, the foreseeable future will be determined by this contest taking place in this rift in time.
When this is all over, I will value the importance of slowing down and staying in, and I will value the power of the people.
We'll not only meet on screen, smiles trying to reach through, but our gate, flung wide open, will allow us out, welcome them in.
I hope that we can look back and know that we use this crazy opportunity to reset our values, loved ones, empathy, society's ills, evolving into a better world full of love and respect. But you know what? I won't hold my breath.
And what our adversary planned to be our poetic demise and a cautionary tale for generations to come, in fact, will be the point in time when we will demonstrate that they are not our gods and they do not hold our fate in their hands.
And together again, we'll dare to dream of people in power who care about those they serve, who do the right thing.
Work from home, you're not alone. Keep your social distance. Engage your brains into what sustains. We are to blame. Let's renew the planet.
I will now have so much respect for the NHS, both the doctors and the nurses. To have them all, we are so blessed.
When this is all over and we talk over the dreams we have all been having, let us speak of bigger dreams now we are awake. We have come so far while apart. Imagine what we could do together.
We can feel the sun, enjoy the land. I hope you remember how we cared for each other. Around the world we can hold hands.
And truly, we thank you. Every last one of you. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I hope you enjoyed that. I want to say thank you to Joshua Rodwell for a powerful poem. And I also want to say thank you to all of the poets that you saw in that video called Distance. Just to give you a little bit of a background. So I've said a little bit about it already, but I think, this is a good time for us to really talk about how it actually happened. So, I did say I started Spoken Not Stirred with a fellow poet, John Akinde, but it's about the organisation that gave us the opportunity to do that. And there's been an amazing organisation in Barking that has been absolutely instrumental to be fair, my whole life. I joined it as a participant, and now I'm someone who works on creating projects like that and running poetry nights and other workshops and stuff for them. And it's Studio Free Arts, and they've been extremely instrumental in not just that aspect of things, the spoken word things that I'm doing, but also they've been instrumental in creating young leaders, young arts leaders and young facilitators, but also creating events and activities for the older generation. And the absolute megastar of the woman who made it happen is actually standing on the other side of the camera right now waving. I'm just going to wave to you out there and to Liza, the megastar over there. And it's there's very few for me, because I've ventured out and I've worked with a few, quite a few other places, and there's very few places to me that I feel really embodies what community engagement and community art is about. And it is about the art, but it's also about the community. There is no, this gets chucked to the side for this. And the projects really prove that. One of the flagship projects that really proved that was where we done Merchant of Venice, where we bought, TV and theatre stars that have done this, and EastEnders and Hollyoaks and all that, and we brought them to Barking, and we said, you are working with us, you're working with the locals, and there is no ladder, there is no, you're at the top, whatever. We are all doing this together, and that is exactly what Studio 3 represents. We are all in this together, regardless if you're, super megastar or you were just someone in the area that just wants to get involved and have a chance. And it's wonderful, it's beautiful that we have organisations in Barking and Dagenham that give us a chance. And that is what Spoken Not Stirred is. Spoken Not Stirred is us being given a chance, and then us being able to give other people a chance to share, to communicate, to engage, to do a lot of things that sometimes we may not think that we can do. So I want to thank Studio Free Arts, I want to thank Liza, I want to thank Barking and Dagenham, and I really just want to thank everyone who takes the time to engage in these things, because it is for us and it is made by us, and it's always going to be for us, and we are going to be the people who drive it. So before I get really sentimental, because I'm getting a bit emotional, oh God, but yeah, it does mean a lot. And as you saw in that poem, that was me cycling around. God damn, it's dangerous. Don't cycle and film. But it was lovely to see the area. It was lovely to see some of the poets. You're going to see them. You saw 2 of them earlier. You're going to see another 2 in a bit. It was lovely to see them. It was lovely. It meant a lot to me to be able to go outside, even if it's from a distance, just to see that the people that we've created. Danny said something earlier, that we created like a culture, a community. And it's nice to see people from your community now and then. And that was through lockdown. So it was wonderful. So I want to thank them for giving the time. And you know what? Barking and Dagenham's piffy, man. It's beautiful. I was cycling about thinking, yeah, what sights am I really going to see? Are you mad? It is so nice out there, man. It's so nice. Goresbrook Park, all of them. Like, seriously, it's beautiful. We are very blessed here. We are very blessed here. And I think sometimes we forget that. So peoples, right now, obviously, you're watching this live, But when you're not watching this live, yeah, go outside and enjoy Barking and Dagenham, because we are blessed out here. I'm telling you that now. There's very few places around London that you can just go, be by the riverfront, you can go to a banging park, and then you can still go to the hood, you know what I mean? You got options, and you get to see a lot of life, and you get to see a lot of the community, so we should start enjoying it more. Right, talking more about the community, talking more about organisations that are doing great things for us. The next 2 poems are going to be also broadcasted. Well, it's all getting broadcasted, but they're going to be pre-recorded poems that you're going to watch. And those poems are from the Folks and Dreams poetry competition that was run by Pen to Print. And Danny mentioned it earlier that he didn't win. I was part of the judges and I felt bad, but I swear to God, I didn't see anyone's name. It was blind judging. So yeah, it was something that was really fun to be involved in. There was a lot of great entrants. So we are now going to play the videos of the winners, or the winner, and also the runner-up. So the winner is Danny Fenn. And so Danny's poem is going to be coming up first, and then that's going to be followed by Michelle Owen's poem, who was the runner-up, and that's going to be coming up soon. And just before that, I want to say thank you all again. Enjoy the poems.
Hi everyone, I'm Danny, also known as the Bowling Poet. I'm genuinely sorry that I can't be in the studio with you all today for the One Borough, One Love online festival. Unfortunately, I've come down with a case of man flu, otherwise known as a common cold. But I was truly humbled to win the Folks and Dreams poetry competition, which I shall now try to recite for you without sneezing. I simply titled the verse 2020. Here goes. The spring of 2020, we had nowhere we could go. So we watched box sets on the telly and we listened to the radio. We clapped every Thursday night for those heroes whose jobs are key. We showed how important these people are to the likes of you and me. Those lucky enough to have a garden sat and basked in the sun, while others made the most of it going for walks or a run. Our houses were suddenly spotless as we scrubbed every nook and cranny. Each night we'd be on Skype or WhatsApp to aunts and uncles and dear old nanny. We learnt to smile again. There were no aeroplanes in the sky. The only thing with wings were a bee, a bird and a butterfly. We suddenly realised the value of a voice on the end of the line. A pint of milk was much more important than even the finest wine. We looked out for our neighbours, the elderly or those in need. A small package left on a doorstep, a simple but honourable deed. The spring of 2020, we rediscovered our heart, closer than we'd ever been, though we stood 2 metres apart. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe and well and enjoy the rest of the festival. Well done to the organisers for putting it on under such difficult circumstances. Thank you very much once again.
It was a day in March. I was watching the news about a deadly virus, politicians discussing their views. It had killed thousands in China and was spreading to here. Our country, England, was living in fear. A few days later, there stood our Prime Minister. We are on lockdown. Things had turned sinister. Stay in your homes, his words were wise. Wash your hands, make sure to sanitise. The days were long, they turned into weeks. Every day listening to Boris speak. Don't go out, thousands are dying. People were anxious, at times I kept crying. This couldn't be happening. Is this for real? I hate COVID-19 and all the lives it would steal. Weeks turn to months. Will it ever end? I miss my family. I miss my friends. I spent my days indoors. I went for half-hour walks. Thank God for technology to hear loved ones talk. 3 months later, lockdown was easing. We would venture out as the deaths were decreasing. To this present day, I still feel afraid of the coronavirus and the difference on life it has made. But it won't stop me living, and every day I pray that this deadly virus will eventually go away.
And we are back. I want to say thank you to Danny Fenn and Michelle Owen again for your lovely poems. And remember, that was from Pen to Print, their competition. They're a lovely organisation that doing great things in the community, so do check them out. And also remember, we've got to give a big thank you to Summer Festivals as well, because, you know, they're making this happen. So just, yeah, thank you all round. And we're back in the room. We are back with our spoken, not stirred poets. So the first poet that I'm going to introduce, this gentleman is absolutely powerhouse. The first time I saw him perform, he just came in and was like, yeah, poem, 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 tore the place down and just went to sit down. So I'm excited for what we've got coming. We've got Willie Gowans.
Hi there, I'm Willie Gowans, and I'd like to introduce some poetry, part of the God's Ledger project. The first poem is called Woods. The woods. Through the branches, see the sky. In the woods, the bodies lie. Moss and lichen hang around, roots embedded in the ground. Little wonder they were never found. In a clearing there is a mound, giving forth an eerie sound. There is a beast who must feast. The beast's name through fire and flame is chanted. Never rest, there will be death. It's what the devil wanted. Second poem, Empathy. What do we feel for each other? Sister, brother, mother. The need to be together. How do we feel for the stranger in danger? Do we feel it all? It's a mall. Third poem, Reaction. People who stand on high will tell you that after you die, it's all laid out. There is no doubt. Faith will carry you through. In another place, another race have a different faith. They have taught their children long. Think like this, think like that, with the absence of fact. They both react. Thank you. They got in. Crunch, glass, rainbow flash, breath mist, despair kissed, mosaic scattered round, puncture in my soul. The bastards, they got in. Thank you. The price of tea. I was just passing, you see, sat down and ordered some tea. The cup, it came forward. That's £5 as ordered. I sat there at ease, drinking exotic teas, and when it was drunk, tea bag sunk. Refill with more water, please. If you do the math, that's price cut in half. It's the Scotsman in me, you see. Sisters and brothers. Sisters and brothers are so unlike lovers, unless it's the incestuous kind. The human condition is in no position to determine which way you sway. Sometimes you're out, sing and shout. Sometimes you hide away. Clothes, just wait, can determine your fate. Cross, you have to bear. Now boys will be boys and girls will be girls in a multitude of different styles. It's humanity's way. I just want to say, make the best of all your decisions. Give it a go. Give it a go. What is poetry for? To open a door? To explore? Experience poetry raw, straight from the maw. Words hard to find, so deep they bind. But words can be found to explore and expound. Flowers and fairs, love and affairs, the conscious stream of thought. Poetry says, in so many ways, mental resource, physical force. Here's looking at you. Here's looking at you. Do you think you would know you if passing in the street? Would the shock of meeting knock you off your feet? I look at you. You look at me. Ourselves we cannot see. We are made to look ahead, ignoring of the sun. Stare, if you dare, so intimate, without the sense of touch. The power of the mind knows what's behind when all eyes are on you. The ego and id, behind the eyes are hid. Ineffable, deep, sparkle you seek. From the stars we came. Faith in color. Faith in color. Purple in the Christian faith, for Jesus Christ to mourn, and white to celebrate the Holy Son reborn. From green and black did Islam start, to Allah both are true. The Israelites with Moses took 10 tablets, sapphire blue, whose holy words are to this day as if the world is round. Lord Rama and Krishna knew, with faces blue, that every hue could transcend and renew. A sublime and innocent sight, prayer. Look at them, all in white. But inside the mind, there's a struggle in kind to find the rainbow in there. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, man, Willie. I was like, I said, powerhouse. Just went, bah, and then, bah, and then, yeah, definitely. That our last one was lovely, man. Thank you so much. Before I get talking too much, I'm going to introduce our next poet. Right. This lady is like, seriously, yeah, I do this every single time I introduce her because I love her voice. It's ridiculous. Like, I keep saying, like, she needs to do like some sort of audiobook or something, because you know when you like certain audiobooks you listen to just before you go to bed, when you wake up, when you're on the bus. Yeah, I'll do that every single time because you're gonna know what I mean in a second as well. Because next we've got the amazing, I could be here all day just hyping her up. So I'm just gonna let you know we've got Mccauley. Please enjoy.
Hi, I'm Anne. Lovely to be here as part of the One Borough, One Love Festival. And it is very much about one love and strange times that we live in. And isn't a time to be cynical, it's a time for wearing hearts on sleeves. So my poems are kind of more direct than they sometimes are. The first poem I'm going to read is one of 2 fantasy poems I wrote earlier in lockdown, when the idea of actually just being normal with people was so unlikely and unheard of. And it's called As If. As if we set the table for guests, candles, napkins, best plates, the smell of happy cooking spreading out and up the street. We open the gate, welcome them in with naked faces, feet wiped on the mat, but no urgency for washing hands. We hug each other close, hold hands, then lean back, looking at each other, smiling. Long time. You look great. We pour glasses and clink, share bowls of salty nibbles until the call to be seated. Elbow to elbow, hip to hip. So that's one fantasy. The other one I wrote was more about the actual thing of seeing my own children and my daughter-in-law and my new grandchild who's going to feature soon. When Dauda spoke to us about this project, he set us 3 questions, which I've just put into the poem. He said, how did you feel when this all started? How do you feel now? And when this is over, how will you feel? So it just made me think of these 3 stages. So this poem is called, what we're living through, Strange Times. When this all started, from the front line, she told us what to do, how to keep safe. Treat everyone as if they have it. Wash hands, wash hands, wash, wash. So we did, wary at the door, washing shopping, post, hands, everything. Our pride in our nurse spiked by fear. We didn't want her to be a hero. Now I feel hope for the family. We're still safe with a new baby born at the peak, our first grandchild. Oblivious to fear, she blooms, chubby and bonny. But I feel disgust for the leaders who gambled with all our lives, self-serving, uncaring, incompetent, who lie without shame. When this is over, we'll not only meet on screen smiles trying to reach through, but our gate flung wide open will allow us out, welcome them in. And together again, we'll dare to dream of people in power who care about those they serve, who do the right thing. I hope you realise, obviously, that I don't mean at Barking and Dagenham leadership level, I mean at government level. And the third poem and last poem that I'm going to read is when part of my fantasy came true. We were very, very careful and sensible. We met our grandchild initially just through on screen, and then we actually got to see her from a distance. And then we decided we'd all been so careful and things were a little bit relaxed at governmental level that we would actually give me my chance to bond. So this is called Sunday, June the 21st, 2020. The grandmother wraps her arms round until her right wrist meets her left elbow. There had been such waiting, such discipline, recognizing the risk. But it was time. They had stayed isolated for weeks, a bond to be made. The calendar says it's Father's Day, but not according to the 2 heartbeats and the 2 sets of eyes looking into each other, one curious, one with tears. Thank you.
Oh man, thank you so much, Anne. Jesus Christ. Oh, just give me a second. Anne, yeah, you know, everyone at home, just take a second, breathe. I know, it was beautiful. Make sure you got tissues there, just a little dab. We're good. Thank you so much, Anne. Thank you, Willie. I think it's a perfect time to just have a little bit more of a conversation about, I guess, how amazing you both are. Anne, you did say a little bit actually about the process of the writing the poem that we did, and I think that's something that I would like to ask you, because the reason that I guess gave those 3 questions was because, one, I didn't want to prompt you guys too much with regards to, you know, what you're writing, because I love the way you all write with your own different styles. So I was like, I need a way for it to be as, you know, as much as your voice as possible. But the next thing is also to think about the process, to think about the time it was in. Like I said, it's strange times. So, I mean, one, yeah, did it achieve that? Was you able to kind of reflect on the time? And then if so, how was that? What came out of that?
Well, I think, like most people, I'm reflecting on the strange times all the time, really. Although occasionally you sort of forget and you think, oh, I'm doing something normal in my house or whatever, and then you suddenly think, no, this is surreal. I am not going to the places I normally go to. We're not able to meet at Spoken Not Starred, which is a venue all of us normally meet at. There's so many things we're not doing, but we're also finding ways to connect. And so, but it was nice to sort of articulate the layers of feeling, because the layers of feeling about where people are trying to work together and where you are able to communicate and express love. But at the same time, my utter frustration and fury, really, at the top layers who really are not as competent as I would like, to put it very, very mildly. And I suppose it exemplifies how important communication is, because on the day you cycled round, Richard, my husband, and I were so delighted to see you, and we always are, obviously. But it was so nice to see your face. We hadn't seen you for ages, and at that time it just seemed to mean an awful lot that you were popping by on your bicycle and chatting over the gate.
Yeah, it is
and we
beautiful.
were waving at you from the door and the gate. Yeah, so yeah, we're thinking all the time, but I think in terms of poetry, I haven't actually written as much as I feel I ought to have. You know, people say they've done lots in lockdown. I think I've kind of slowed down even more. I'm not fast at the best of times.
I get that. I felt personally attacked by this post that I saw about Shakespeare writing, I can't remember what play it was that I wrote when the plague was happening. And I was like, okay, calm down. Calm down. Sometimes, I think sometimes, do take the time to, because it's a lot to take in. I think sometimes having to just stop and change what you're doing is a lot to take in, and taking a step back to process that and maybe not writing for a second that's also part of it. You know, that's also part of the dealing with it. So.
But actually it was quite helpful being asked, because it kind of got me writing, and I think that was actually quite therapeutic and quite helpful. And I was also involved in another Borough project, the Love Letters to the World, and I also did a poem there, and I think so sometimes just getting somebody jogging your elbow, a
little prompt,
little reminder, and it's really nice to be getting writing, because writing is so therapeutic.
It really is, it really is. And I mean, the way you read is therapy in itself, to be fair. I mean, I always say I'm such a fan. Just for a second, just to go to Willie. Also, it was great. It was great also, like, you know, from a distance seeing you that day as well. And one thing I always found about your poetry is it's in your face. It is in your face, but I think sometimes some people may not, because it's so in their face, they may miss some of it. And there was two in particular that really stood out for me, which was Give It a Go, and then the very last one, which I think both of them embody kind of that, what I feel you do a lot with your poetry, which is, one, you go for it, but also in this very like philosophical, but you know, there's a lot behind it. But also, like I said, it is straight in your face. And I'm just wondering, is that a conscious thing that you do of when you're writing your poetry? Do you make sure you find that balance, or is it just something that naturally happens?
Really, just sort of, I start like what I really do is just like sort of, you call it mind, you know, just write down, just keep
Words
going,
and,
keep going.
Free writing, kind of.
And it makes no sense whatsoever. And then go back and you refine it, and you think, oh, well, that line don't work, and score it out. So it could take about 10 pages for one poem to appear, like, you know.
Wow.
So it's constantly evolving, I feel, when I'm writing, like, you know. You start off with a basic general idea and probably a title. So the title sort of keeps you on that course, like, you know. But it's just basically improvising it, and then scoring it down, something that could be like, as I say, 2 pages long. By the end of it, you've got about 10 lines, like, you know, just scoring out and editing, like, you know.
That is interesting. And I think that really does make sense then for the style, because like what amazing thing about free writing is because you're just letting it go, you're just letting everything come out. But then I guess the refining thing is then when you make sure you're getting the most important points out of that.
Yeah, well, that's some of it. You think, oh, that sounds good, and then you relate it back to a previous line. You think, oh, well, that's not good enough, so let's score it out, and then think again, then stick it in a drawer for 2 weeks and
endless drafts.
Pull it out again and see where you go from there. Like,
Definitely. And one other thing as well that's been really great, because obviously we've been trying to keep up with everyone through social media at least, and through us talking, and you know, that day we saw each other as well. You was telling me how busy you've been in lockdown as well, and all the things that's still happening.
Yeah, I've been really quite lucky. Lockdown, you know, all the actors and people have been put out of work and nothing. So I managed to get a collaboration going with 2 brothers, one a dance performer and the other one, luckily enough, a sort of video cinematographer, like, you know. So between the 3 of us, using my words, the dance acting and the cinematography, we managed to produce 3 short videos of my poem, which would have never happened in normal circumstances, because they would all been working and involved in their own projects, like, you know. But at the moment, I'm trying to work with an illustrator in Scotland.
Oh, nice.
To get my poems illustrated and eventually hope to get to publication, like, you know. That's the project I'm sort of concentrating on at the moment.
Great.
No pressure on my illustrator, like, you know.
Just call him out when everyone's watching.
Just gotta wait, like, you know. So I mean, yeah.
Wonderful, and that is great to hear. That is, it's just, and it's great to see both of you. It's great to hear you read, and thank you so much for your time. So I'm going to close with a little poem. This is also something actually I wrote for the Faith and Belief Forum, which is another organisation in Barking and Dagenham, and it's just very fitting for what's happened, just in general. Forgive me, I'm reading it off my phone because I didn't take time to learn it. But yeah, so before I read it again, I just want to say thank you to the Spoken Not Stirred poets. I want to say thank you to Pen to Print, a massive thank you to Studio Free Arts, and also the Summer Festival. So this one, I haven't named it because I'm terrible at naming stuff. But At times like this, I pray. No knees bent or hands clasped, no, just my hopes wrapped metaphorically. Apt how we adapt within our philosophies as freely as we grow within our communes. Only in the singular does that become paradoxal. You see, my faith is informed by different beliefs, as is my community. A mosaic of cultures pressed on our stained glass sky with seek hues of orange and blues. On the one sky we are always lamb, sheep to this unforeseeable force that drives us to be our best selves, and not just for ourselves. No, we do this for the young and the old, the shy and the bold, those just opening up and those about to fold. Those beautiful moments you realize you don't need words for prayers. When you find heavenly solace in the smile of a stranger. When you can hear home calling in the calls of a passerby. We all want to share our goodwill. To be that ray that warms your heart. The light at the end of your tunnel. But 1,000 sunshines can leave you in a hellish disposition. Haunted by the thought that you may not recognize your savior. So we go out there. Daily meeting deities. Connection being the helm that drives these friendships, seamlessly threading us together, bridging the social and cultural belief tapestry that has been woven into our humanity. Some see the red string of fate, some see Geppetto's chiseled fingers tugging away at the loose ends of our faith, destined to always question destiny, because holy words have birthed devilish dynasties. So some choose emptier canvases to draw hope from. Some find sanctum in the words of griots. Their temples are home for the soft and hard back alike, because we are all welcome to learn. In our world, this is neighbored by civic centres. One is home to conversations that fill the soul, sandwiched in with edible delights. And another, which is where we're in right now, houses those who discuss on housing, where we hope their ceilings are those same stained glass windows waiting to be elevated even further. That is to say, this barrier becomes a platform wherein recognizing all the things that kept us separated, when looked at with new light, will bring us together. That is to say, if we start to learn and not fear, we realize it's the differences that make a community come together. That they are the spark in conversation, and we realize that the gap in past generation was the lack of communication. So now we make sure to sing and dance together, truly celebrate those differences as they should be, as well as we get to see just how much individually we contribute to this home we call community. Thank you. And thank you so much, everyone out there. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Spoken Not Stirred. Spoken Word Hour.